No talking donkeys tonight.
There we are.
Are we on?
Yep.
Hello, this is George.
Hey, Bonnie.
Mm-hmm. And this is Adonai's Sanctuary Truth Classroom. It is November 5th. Had to look at the calendar. And our talk tonight is going to be in, I believe, Numbers 25 and 26. Interesting. Should we get started?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Andy.
How did we end last week? Last week, I said there at the end,
You're okay.
this next part is so troubling. It teaches us how easy it is to relax or compromise or stand for Yeshua and Adonai. That's how I ended last week. Now, let's get into 25. Section, or you might prefer chapter 25, starts out as a slap in the face of everything that was just stated in 24. Read 25:1, please.
Israel stayed at Shittim, and there the people began whoring with the women of Moab.
This place, Shittim, was about 10 miles east of the Jordan River and about 15 miles from the city of Jericho. You remember Jericho. That was the first place the Israelites went to when they finally entered the Promised Land. Now 25:1 doesn't say they went into Moab and took over their land, but it states they ended up. Did you read that 25:1?
Uh-huh.
What the women did and what the men did?
Uh-huh.
Must have been paying attention. But it states they ended up whoring or having immoral sexual relationships with the women of Moab. Is that what you read?
That's what it said.
Interesting.
Yep.
We understand that in the Canaanite religion, they practiced a prostitution, which was a sacred act, not just a sacred act, it was a sacred act for their temples. Yet in Bereshit, or as you might call it, Genesis 38, 15 through 19 is kind of interesting reading here. Read that, please.
When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute because she had covered her face. So he went over to her where she was sitting and said, not realizing that she was his daughter-in-law, "Come, let me sleep with you." She answered, "Will you pay to sleep with me?" He said, "I will send you a kid from the flock of goats." She said, "Will you also give me something as a guarantee until I send it?" He answered, "What should I give you as a guarantee?" She said, "Your seal with its cord and the staff that you're carrying in your hand." So he gave them to her, then went and slept with her, and she conceived by him. She got up and went away, took off her veil, and put on her widow's clothes.
That seemed to be what Judah, in other words, Judah, did. Go to 38:2. Please.
There Judah saw one of the daughters of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, S-H-U-A, and he took her, slept with her.
We found out that one of Leah's sons did the same thing in 38:2. So really, what is Adonai pointing us to here in this writing? The main problem comes in Numbers 25:2. Read 25:2, please.
These women invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods. where the people ate and bowed down to their gods.
That is where the difference is. See, in Breshit, or Genesis 38, Jutah's wife died. Then after his mourning, he had a sexual encounter with what he thought was a prostitute. So what does that tell us? Read 2 again, please.
These women invited the people to the sacrifices of their gods, where the people ate and bowed down to their gods.
The problem came when the people, it didn't say men, but the people of Israel started to sacrifice to those pagan gods, where they also ate while bowing down to all of their pagan gods. See, there's a big difference in those 2 readings. I don't know, it didn't just jump right out at us at first, but when we went over it a number of times, it came up like a slap in the face. They sacrificed to the pagan gods. Does Adonai say, here, a good one here, right here. Better pay attention to this one. Does Adonai say, that's all right, they got the name of the one they were now following mixed up with a false name for their services? Get the connection? No. Read 25:3. What happened?
With Israel thus joined to Baal Peor, the anger of Adonai blazed up against Israel.
We believe just like when the Messiah returns in the last days, so did Adonai burn with anger at the children of Israel. The Messiah, Yeshua, will not accept your false pagan Messiah either. Now it's getting kind of mean, isn't it? But it's true. He's not going to go, oh, that's okay, you just got the name wrong. This is so obvious. But individuals today and for 392 years, most people can't see their forests for the trees they have planted, and their names that they have planted are the imitational ones for the Messiah. When you think about it, what's changed from Numbers 25:3, which my beauty just read, to this date in 2024? Nothing. Then something happens. Then comes the punishment for the chiefs of every tribe who allowed their people to serve Baal. You know, they didn't stand up and say, you got to stick with what Adonai says. No, they allowed them to do whatever they want. Read 4 and 5, please. Let's find out what happens to those chiefs.
Adonai said to Moses, take all the chiefs of the people and hang them facing the sun before Adonai, so that the raging fury of Adonai will turn away from Israel. Whoop, that's only 4. You went 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
Moses said to the judges of Israel, each of you is to put to death those in his tribe who have joined themselves to Baal Peor.
Hang those bosses or those chiefs facing the sun. Then have the judges put to death anyone who has been serving Baal. A plague started against Israel, killing 24,000 people. It wasn't about the whoring. If it was, the death would have been 24,000 men, I would think. But it states people. To us, it didn't take all that long going from the king of Moab to falling into worshiping one of their gods, such as Baal. Tom wrote, sounds like
Sounds like, here we go again.
Yeah. One person, a grandson of Aaron, had enough. Read 6 through 9, please.
Just then, in the sight of Moses and the whole community of Israel, as they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting, a man from Israel came by, bringing to his family a woman from Midian. When Pinchah, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the Kohen, saw it, he got up from the middle of the crowd, took a spear in his hand, and pursued the man from Israel right into the inner part of the tent, where he thrust his spear through both of them, the man from Israel and the woman through her stomach. Thus was the plague among the people of Israel stopped. Nevertheless, 24,000 died in that plague.
Then Moses is told something by Adonai. Read 10 and 11, please.
Adonai said to Moses, Pinchah, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, has deflected my anger from the people of Israel by being as zealous as I am, so that I didn't destroy them in my own zeal.
That's 10 and 11?
Yep.
His action turned my anger. That's what Adonai said. His action turned my anger away from the people for following that Baal worship in your tribes. Sounds a little bit like a scolding, too. Mm-hmm. Now, that is an act by a person who took action because of the blatant disrespect of Adonai and for going to the pleasure of the world and then casting aside Adonai to show openly his sexual act for the one he was now worshiping. Who was he worshiping? The Baal of Peor. It states that the grandson of Aaron gets praise for being as zealous as Adonai is. Isn't that what you read? Mm-hmm. Because of Pinchah's action, I didn't destroy any more of Israel that day. Then Adonai gives him his blessings for his actions. Good job! No, he tells him a little more. Read 12, please.
Therefore say, I am giving him my covenant of shalom.
Adonai gave Pinchah the covenant of shalom. Well, that is... Now, if you know anything about shalom, that is really something special. A covenant is an agreement between two. This agreement was between Pinchah and Adonai. Now, about the blessing of shalom. We went over this a few years ago, I think. Most of the English translations say the word peace. Sounds good, doesn't it? Yet it only hits the surface of the true meaning when a person wants to understand what Adonai is actually saying with that one Hebrew word, shalom. You need to understand that shalom means, yes it does, one of the definitions is peace. But it also means tranquility, safety, well-being, health, contentment, welfare, success, comfort, wholeness, and the big one, which we have very little of anymore, and integrity. Pinchah so showed integrity to Adonai by his action. Now, how many people going to these, what they call churches now, have the integrity to show Adonai something like that? Interesting. How much integrity does it take to just follow what a preacher says and not study what it really means? All right, anyway, back to my sweetie's going to read 13 and 14.
making a covenant with him and his descendants after him, that the office of Kohen will be theirs forever. This is because he was zealous on behalf of his God and made atonement for the people of Israel. The name of the man from Israel who was killed, put to death with the woman from Midian, and Zimri the son of Shula, leader of the clans from the tribe of Simeon.
When Adonai said, I am giving him my covenant of shalom, that was a pure honor from Adonai, which I think everybody should want, but it went to Pinchas for his actions against Baal. The covenant was also for his descendants, stating the office of Kohen, or priest, because of what Pinchas did. That calling will be theirs forever. And that ends with why. Read the last part of 13 again, please.
This is because he was zealous on behalf of his God and made atonement for the people of Israel.
In other words, he didn't do that because of some instructions he got from some priests or even from the high priest. No, he did it because he was zealous, filled with enthusiasm on Adonai's behalf. That's what you just read, right? Those two were whoring right in front of everybody, and no one was stopping them until Pinchas acted on behalf of Adonai. That is one heck of a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, making an atonement for the people of Israel. Think about that statement. Hasn't there been enough who by this death, by his death, burial, and resurrection, we now have a reconciliation through Yeshua to Adonai? Then the explanation goes on to say who those two were. It was Zimri, the son of the leader of one of the clans of Simeon. She was Kozdi, Kozdi, daughter of the leader, the head of one of the clans of Midian. That seemed to be the last straw. But where have we been subject to the Midianites before when we in our studies? How about if we go to Shemot or Exodus 2:15 through 21?
When Pharaoh heard of it, he tried to have Moses put to death, but Moses fled from Pharaoh to live in the land of Midian. One day as he was sitting by the well, the 7 daughters of the priest of Midian came to draw water. They had filled the troughs to water their father's sheep, when the shepherds came and tried to drive them away. But Moses got up and defended them. Then he watered their sheep. When they came to Reuel, their father, he said, "How come you're back so soon today?" They answered, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. More than that, he drew water for us and watered the sheep." He asked his daughters, "Where is he? Why did you leave the man there? Invite him to have something to eat." Moses was glad to stay with the man, and he gave Moses his daughter Zipporah in marriage.
We're in Numbers. And this was back in Exodus when Moses, you all know the story. You've seen it on the movie Moses and everything. But therefore, Moses' wife Zipporah was an Midianite. His father-in-law was a priest of Midian. Yet now Adonai says to Moses, we'll read Numbers 25:15 through 18, how things change.
The name of the woman from Midian who was killed was Kobi, daughter of Zur, and he was the head of the people in one of the clans of Midian. How far am I going? 18?
15 through 18.
Adonai said to Moses, "Treat the Midians as enemies and attack them, because they are treating you as enemies by their trickery they used to deceive you in the poor incident and in the affair to their sister Cosbi, the daughter of the leader from Midian, the woman who was killed on the day of the plague in the poor incident. No.
After the plague killed the ones who were going strictly against rules set up by Adonai, Adonai said it's time to put together an army. Let's do it now. And that's what Numbers 26, 1 and 2. My sweetie's going to read that.
Adonai said to Moses and Eleazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, take a census of the entire assembly of the people of Israel, 20 years old and over, by their ancestral clans, all who are subject to military service in Israel.
Take a census of all the Hebrews. Then you will know how large your army will be. The soldiers must be at least 25 years of age. Now, there's a lot of writing in there and reading, and instead of reading each clan or descendants of the 12 sons, we, in most cases, will just read the number of who were eligible for the army, their military. From the tribe of Reuben were 43,730. In the Reuben group, there was a section known as the Pellu, P-A-L-L-U, and that you can find that in 26:8 through 11. Read that, please. I'm going to make you read some of those hard words.
Make me read those words. The sons of Pellu, Eliva, the son of Eliva, Nemuel, Dayton, and Aviram. These are the same, Dayton and Aviram, men of reputation in the community who rebelled against Moses and Aaron in the Korah group when they rebelled against Adonai. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korah when that group died. Then the fire consumed 250 men, and they became a warning sign. However, the sons of Korah did not die. However,
by that writing, you see that not one was actually shown as being counted because of their rebellion against what was called Moses and Aaron. We found that in Numbers 16, 31 through 35. Read that, please. 16, 31 through 35.
The moment he finished speaking, the ground under them split apart. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, all the people who had sided with Korah and everything they owned. So they and everything they owned went down alive into Sheol. The earth closed over them, and their existence in the community ceased. All Israel around them fled at their shrieks, shouting, "The earth might swallow us up too." Then fire came out from Adonai and destroyed the men who had offered the incense.
You remember that story about earth swallowing up. Read 40 also. What's 40 in ours? Or 17:5. In translations it's 40, but in ours it's 17:5.
To remind the people of Israel that an ordinary person, not descendant from Aaron, is not to approach and burn incense before Adonai if he wants to avoid the fate of Korah and his group, as Adonai had said to him through Moses. Remember that story? They didn't want to follow what Aaron and Moses said because they brought out they are just as good as those two. Well, look what happened to them. But we're going to get back to the descendants for the army. The descendant of Simeon was 22,200. Gad was 40,500. Judah was 76,500. Issachar was 64,300. Zebulun was 60,500. Joseph's son Manasseh was counted 52,700. Joseph's other son Ephraim was counted as 32,500. Now see why I didn't want her to read all those hard words too. Benjamin was 45,600. We're not done yet.
Dan was 64,400. Asher was 53,400. Naphtali was 45,400. Now those were eligible for the military, and their total was 601,730 men for the military. Now that they have the number for how big their army was going to be, here is another instruction from Adonai. Read 52 through 56, please. 26, 52 through 56.
Adonai said to Moses, "The land is to be parceled out among these as a possession to be inherited according to the number of names. To those families with more persons you are to give a greater inheritance, and to those with fewer you are to give a smaller inheritance. Each family's inheritance is to be given according to the number counted in it. However, the land is to be awarded by lot. They will inherit according to the names of the tribes of their ancestors. But the inheritance is to be parceled out by lot between families with more and those with fewer."
In other words, if you had a big family, a large group, you got a bigger plot of land.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. For this land being divided, you had to be one of those families or clans. But there's one that's kind of left out. Read 57, please.
Oh, here we go again. Those counted among the Levites by their families were of Gershon, the family of Gershoni, and of Kahat, the family of Kahat, and of Moriah, the family of Moriah. 57.
That was the Levites. Now my sweetie's going to read 59.
Mm-hmm. The name of Amram's wife was Jehovah, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt, and she bore to Aaron, Moses, and Aaron, Moses, and their sister Miriam.
Amram married Levi's daughter in Egypt, and they had 2 sons who became pretty special to the Israelites. Their sons were Aaron and Moses, plus they had their sister Miriam. Kind of tells the whole history.
Mm-hmm.
Now my sweetie's going to read Breshit, or Genesis, 46, verse 11.
The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kahat, and Moriah. Oh, however you say it.
The sons of Levi. Now she's going to read 16 in Shemot. That's Exodus.
6:16. These are the names of the sons of Levi with their descendants: Gershon, Kahat, and Moriah. Levi lived to be 137 years old.
You heard her read
16.
about Kahat at least 3 times. So Kahat was actually a son of Levi. No, 8, please. Shemot
18.
18. Couldn't read my writing.
The sons of Kahat, you're not going to like me. The sons of Kahat were Ammon, Yatzar, Hebron, and Josiah. Kahat lived to be 133 years old.
One of Kahat's sons was Amram, and we just read about him before, who married his aunt Yocheved, Yocheved, his father's sister, and she bore. Go to Shemot 6:20.
Amram married Yehovah, whatever, his father's sister, and she bore him Aaron and Moses.
So
Amram
sorry.
lived to be 137 years old.
So that's how they became Aaron and Moses. in the Levite clan. So you might say they were Levites. Numbers 26:62. Read that, please.
Those males 1 month or 1 month old or more counted as the Levites were 23,000. These were not included in the census of the people of Israel because no land for inheritance was given to them among the people of Israel.
Now, there's a lot of people nowadays that be going, we got 23,000 people. Why aren't we getting some land? Well, he explains it here. 23,000 males, 1 month old or older, yet they were not counted in the census because they would not inherit any land. The census by Moses and Eleazar this time was a different people than the census by Moses and Aaron at the Sinai desert. Read 26:65, please. Why? She's going to read why.
Because Adonai had said to them, they will surely die in the desert. So there was not left even one of them except Caleb and the son of, except Caleb and Joshua.
Remember, they were part of the 12 that went out and explored the land. After all that marching, it says, except for Caleb and Jehoshua. How strict was the rules of inheriting? I think that they were pretty strict for these people. Section or chapter 25 answers that question a little, but we're not going there today.
27?
In 427, chapter 27 next week.
Next week.
There was a lot in this one that unless you want to know the truth in Scripture, you skim over it. And George and I have talked about that in our little meetings a lot. That how when you listen to your preacher all that much, a preacher, a priest, or a rabbi, you read it the way they tell you, not what the Scripture really says. Now, I don't know if my sweetie did you put that little statement on the...
That's what I said after you read it.
Okay. Oh. I know. Did you put this on the...
No.
Oh, okay. People, sit down and buckle up. It may be a little bumpy ride. We have said this a number of times, and we must say it again. And we'll say it a few more times before it's all over. We don't care if you go to hell. Oh, you can't say that. We can't. That's your business. See, it's your choice to follow Yeshua or not. So if you choose to follow, worship, and believe in one of those made-up names, Messiahs, any one of them, then you have made up your mind and you have punched your ticket for hell. Now, isn't that a kind way of putting it?
Oh, yeah, okay.
We don't care if you have a dozen preachers, priests, or rabbi teachers saying and teaching it's all right to call your Messiah any name you want, as long as you agree with them and their religion. And you say it's okay for them to say that. Let me ask you, if they say that, who is the one being hypocritical? You have to believe like them. But don't say anything against what they say, or you will go to hell because you don't agree with their religion. Although they don't want to tell you the truth about Yeshua. Have any of you ever heard your leader say the name Yeshua? There are a whole lot of those preachers, priests, and rabbi teachers who make statements like the Messiah's name in this day and age is the J word, even though some of them actually know it wasn't. See, when Miriam and Joseph were told to name their son, If you could call them anything you want, they'd have come down and says, well, it doesn't make any difference what you call them. Because whoever uses that J word or whatever names in the future, you can call them George or Fred or whatever.
Whoa.
He didn't say that. They said what his name was. I got to get back to this. They actually know it wasn't. Now, if they know what his real name was, then who are the ones blaspheming? Kind of, it was up here with them saying you can call him anything. Let me ask you, who is the one being hypocritical? And then he says down here, who is the one blaspheming if they use any name except his true name? And they know it. Now, if they don't know what his real name was, then who is the one brainwashing you with their religious falsification? If you think any of this fantastic talk comes from us, you're wrong. We do now. Why do I keep forgetting the K? We do know that we are being used by Adonai to try to help you in this classroom. We are not your teacher. Adonai is. But how many times did you sit in school and ignore what the teacher said? How many times did you think you were smarter than the teacher? How many times did you just plain think it didn't make a difference? Is that what people are doing today? If they know the name, hey, what's the difference? Why do we got to learn this? History just repeat itself. History is just something in the past. But history about Adonai and Yeshua is the main thing in this class room. Amen. One more thing. People, if you flunk Adonai's class, you might say there will be hell to pay. Now, there are people who watch this. I don't know if it's for entertainment or what, but they still talk about Jay and whatever they want to talk about. And they still like to watch this for some reason. Here's a little message for those people. Stop treating this like a recess from your religious falsification and start learning the truth about Adonai, Yeshua, and your eternity. The world's falsification, now this is important, the world's falsification is your damnation. Okay, and just a few minutes ago I wrote down something that my sweetie, nobody knows what it was yet. I want you to think about this. This is really important. Remember when Israel would follow Adonai, everything was good. They had victories. Nobody defeated their country. Nobody ran their country stupidly. We are more like Israel than what you think. Adonai, or if you don't know the word Adonai in your church or synagogue or anybody else says the word is God, just think about this. Adonai had his hand on the United States when we worship God. And if it turns, and it is turning more communist, and they are still in control, or they get totally in control, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't mean any difference who you want in there. That means Adonai has withdrawn his hand of protection. Think about every time the Israelites did something, worship Adonai, how good it was. Think how the United States was doing so good for so long. And when they started to pull everything away from Adonai, Adonai let them go their own way, and it fell. They fell into trouble, they got into danger, they started taking hostages. What did we do? Back when I was a kid, they kicked Adonai out of school. They kicked him out of the classroom. They kicked him off the walls, the boards. They did away with God and prayer. How much further do we have to fall before somebody comes along that says we got to get back to Adonai? If we don't have somebody doing that, Adonai will take his hand off the U.S. I think he's withdrawing it every day now. They cast the Bible and truth about religion out the door. And I'm not just talking about the people, I'm talking about the churches. If they don't want the truth, then who is really the hypocritical one? Hang on. It's a bumpy ride today. Think about our future. If you think about what's happening, how much more does Adonai have to withdraw from us for us to fall flat on our face? Think about that the rest of the week. Think about that today. I know the pretenders will go, well, God's in control. Yeah, he is. And you know what? That's what Israel thought all the time when the good times were there. And then when they started turning their backs on Adonai, kicking him out of the place that they worshipped, brought in Baal, brought in falsification, brought in the fakeness, who to worship. What did Adonai let them do? Go their own way without him until it got so far. And I'm sure none of us will ever get back to the point where we're going to see the person who turns this thing around. But I tell you what, we got to stop falling and start following Adonai. Have a good week.